So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. I have such a treat for you all today because this is my third interview with a dance school principal here in the UK. But as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we have a gent that has joined us today. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
So we would love to know a little bit about your school because, of course, you know, schools come in all shapes and sizes and they're all very different. So how would you describe your school?
How would I describe the school? I would describe it as a home from home, which I'm sure many dance teachers describe their school as that as well. I'm immensely proud of it and what we've managed to achieve. We've been going 10 years this year. And yeah, started with 7 people on a regular basis, and we've now finished our penultimate showcase this year with 180. So
wow,
it's something to be proud of, and I am proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and well done to you. And did you find that, you know, you started off as a dancer and then you found yourself running a class with these 7 people, and before you knew it, you had a business? Like, did you always set out to have a business, or did that kind of just happen?
No, I didn't actually. I started competitive dancing. That's what I've always done as a child and as a teenager. And I tried to quit at 16. I tried to retire. And my mentor at the time said, "Oh, that's fine. You know, you go ahead and you retire. That's what 16-year-olds do." And then I went back when I was 17 to design my coach's, my mentor's website for her dance school. And she said, "Would you like to come back and do a bit of dancing?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure." Anyway, that was the famous last words, because I went back to do a lesson and then I was trained to be a teacher as far as I can remember. Then I started teaching for her. And then with school and A-levels, I went down the dramatic route. And then that's when my own school became a thing with both drama and dance. So yeah.
Amazing. And I hear this so often, actually. People say, you know, I never set out to have a dance school. It just kind of somehow happened. And that's where I often say to people, and I don't know whether you relate to this or not, but we spend hours and hours and hours learning to dance as children. And then if we go down this route, we spend hours and hours and hours learning to become a teacher and invest actually a lot in that process. And then we somehow find ourselves running a dance school and being business owners, which we don't always class ourselves as right at the start, but we are, like it or not. And what we don't do, generally speaking, for most people, is then spend hours and hours and invest in learning about how to run a business. We seem to think that the skills that we have teaching in a studio is what we need to be a business owner. And of course, I mean, I can see that you're smiling at me here because, as you know, that's not the case, is it? There's a lot more to running a business than knowing how to teach.
I definitely relate with that. I think there's so much to learn, and you'll never not be learning, I don't think. But I've only really, as I say, we celebrated 10 years this year. I've only really become comfortable running a business this year. It's taken that long to understand, because as you say, I'm a dancer by nature, and I training to be a teacher was hard enough, but then when you're dealing with accounts and payroll and stuff like that, that's very different to learning the waltz.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's not taught, is it? We don't learn that as part of our teaching qualifications. And so people hear me say this often, and even people listening to my podcast that have listened to several episodes will have heard this often. We kind of become professional wingers. Like we kind of wake up on a daily basis and we just wing it. Like we kind of go, right, what needs to happen today and what feels urgent and what's priority, what's the top of my to-do list. And I'll just tackle that to-do list and I'll keep doing that with energy and motivation every day. And hopefully things will turn out. And of course, that doesn't always result in us either having the school that we love or the size of school that we would love, or the income that we need to sustain a lifestyle that we would love. So, I mean, happy for you to be as transparent and share what feels comfortable, what doesn't feel comfortable. But in terms of, your business giving back to you with regards to the financial things that you've created for yourself and the lifestyle that you've created, like, where do you sit with that? How do you feel you're doing in business?
So at the moment, I feel that I'm doing good. People have told me so, and that's nice to hear. I've got to say that sometimes the business element is rather daunting. I still, wrongly or rightly, I still prioritize the routines I've got to make, the scripts I've got to write. And sometimes the business stuff falls behind, and I find myself, and other people may be the same, if I give everything to the business side, the dance side starts to slip. And then if I put everything into the dance side, the business stuff starts to go unattended. So I do understand that inference of I've either got to be fully into the dance, fully into that. I've not quite worked out the happy medium yet. I feel I've got better. I'm getting better at it. Things like, I don't want to name drop, but programs that help with the class fees and things like that. We've just started to use those this year. That's helped massively on the admin side for me. I've spent many Sundays writing and emailing, that sort of thing. But I've always ran the school, and people older than me or my age have always laughed at me because I've always used what the late Queen said about work, that the job and the life go on together. And I've always felt that with the school in particular. I've had other jobs alongside the school, and you can leave those jobs, they finish at the door. But this school, she's quite right in what she said, is when the job and the life go on together, and it does feel like that a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is because we started dancing potentially at a fairly young age. Dance, it is a job, it is a business, but it's also our identity. And when dance is your identity, you therefore have your identity is wrapped up in your work. So you don't ever leave it behind, because when you're not working, dance is still your identity, because it's one of the core parts of you. Yeah. Now, that would be different if somebody started dance much later, but certainly if you've danced as a child and you're still involved in the dance industry now, I think it's such a big part of you. When I decided to sell my studios and stop teaching, and even more recently stop examining, I still didn't leave the dance industry. I couldn't leave that behind altogether. I'm massively involved with it now through Dance Business Lab. And everything I do and every minute I spend of every day is around dance and dance teachers and dance school principals. So it's still my identity. It hasn't gone anywhere. Just the way in which I show up within the dance industry has changed. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's not a job we just leave behind.
No.
But of course, it can sometimes become very overwhelming, can't it? And very so heavy on our time that we feel like life kind of doesn't really exist. Like it takes over our whole life. So that kind of work-life balance, I don't like to call it a balance because that tends to instigate that it should be the same. We spend as much time working as we do having our own private life. And that's not going to be the case, I don't think, for most principals. But the balance has to feel right for you. And for some people, working 4 days in the dance school instead of 2 means it's 2 days too many. It's the balance isn't right for them. For some people, they're happy doing 6 days, but it's the 7th day that tips them over that balance. What does the balance look like for you in a perfect world?
Well, I was waiting for you to finish, but I could have interjected with, I haven't managed the balance yet. And I know I haven't. I never have been able to manage the balance. I have run the school with my sister for a very long time. I would like to say, in praise to her, she has managed the balance. She has been able to tell me when she'd like to teach, what nights she'd like to teach, and how long she'd like to teach for. Whereas I feel sometimes I have to be the person that's on call. I have to be the person that covers that class or takes that class or is able to jump to take that student as private lesson. I have to be the person that's always on call. And I actually, for my sins, probably saying this, I don't mind that. I do like a holiday. I enjoy having a private life. And my partner, she's often said to me, can we have time together?
Do you have to block it in your diary?
Pretty much, yeah. And it's got to the point over the years where it's grown that much. Just with the amount of students, obviously from 7, it's not just been a dramatic jump. We've worked for it, and it's just gone up naturally. But I think with the intake of children and the responsibility, and I haven't quite mastered the art of balance yet.
The balance, yeah. And as I said, it's what balance looks like for you.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes a little exercise that we can sit down and do is, how many additional hours or days in a week or a month would I love in order to feel I have enough of a life outside of the dance business? And it might be that you just say, do you know what, Deborah, I just need 2 hours a week to myself where I could go off and I could do this hobby, or I could sit and read a book, or I could guilt-free sit and watch TV. Like, what does that additional life balance look like? It could be I need to teach 2 days a week less. It could be I need to be able to have a holiday every 6 weeks. It's what works for you, because I'm a massive believer that you design your business in the way that you want your business to be. Like, there's nobody's business that should be something that other people are telling you it has to be. And so I think having a very clear idea of what would be really lovely is if I could do this, it would be great. And then something I talked about on another podcast recently is then how do I create the strategy to make that actually happen? Because you could find yourself in another 10 years and we could have the same conversation. You could be Deborah, how am I 20 years and I still don't have a work-life balance. Yeah. So it's, what are the steps to rectify that? So it's a really good idea to sit down and kind of, what would I love? What would that look like for me to have that balance right? And for you, it might just be a couple of hours. It could be a couple of days. It could be anything. And then what do I need to do? What do I need to achieve? What do I need to put in place in order to get that? So thinking off the top of your head, and I know it would be something to go and spend more time thinking of, just briefly, so we could chat through that now, what would you love that you're thinking of straight away on a weekly basis that would feel great?
2 hours a day. I would love
an extra
2 hours a day. I finish work very late, so sometimes I'm too tired to do anything else. I love to read. I read a lot of books about the mind and stuff like that. And yeah, I edit videos as a hobby. So I don't really have much time to do that anymore. And I am a sucker for a good TV series. So I would love time to do that. When people say to me, "What are you watching?" I'm like, nothing. Nothing in the last year, because I haven't had time. So yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so another couple of hours in the day of every day.
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay. So let me see if I've got a magic wand for that then. So have you ever sat down? Do you have anyone that helps with your admin?
We didn't. As I said, I used to do it all, and now it goes through
the CRM
system, which is wonderful. It's the best investment I ever made.
So I thought I would just share with you guys today the planners that I have produced for dance school owners, because these are flying out of Amazon like hotcakes. And if you don't have yours yet, then all you have to do is pop to Amazon and type into the search Deborah Laws, and all 3 books will come up. So the Ultimate Dance Business Planner I designed for you so that you had a little bit of a Deborah on your desktop. The planners are full of business training, tips, motivational quotes, things to do at the start of the month, things to do at the end of the month, ways in which you can plan out your marketing and your retention, and they are selling all over the world. So go to Amazon, grab your #1 best-selling Ultimate Dance Business Planner, and enjoy mapping out the growth for your studio. Yeah. So you've managed to find some time through implementing a new system. Apart from that, because I know what those systems can do, I know how they can save you time. There's a lot of stuff that they don't do.
Yes.
So who else helps you with admin? Is it just you?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've spoken about this a little bit recently. I don't know if you have listened to any of the podcasts I've done previously or been in my world at all, but I talk about a £10 task, a £100 task, and £1,000 tasks. And they're basically different levels of tasks that a business would have and require different people potentially that can do those different levels. So as a quick example, a £10 task would be something that you could delegate to somebody on minimum wage. You could potentially, if you create the process clear enough with a good enough training, you could give it to maybe a 14-year-old to do. Like, that's how straightforward and basic that task is. And then we have the £100 tasks, which you wouldn't probably give to somebody that was just a general administrator. And these could be things like the copywriting on your website, or designing your social media graphics, or your bookkeeping. So these are things that might need a higher level skill set, or just need more input really from you. And then the £1,000 tasks are the biggies. These are the ones where transformation happens, where you get to take a lot more time off, where you get to earn a lot more money. And the £1,000 tasks can only be done by the person that runs the business, the owner. It's the visionary stuff. It's the creative stuff. It's things like, how do we create, what marketing plan are we going to have? And let's create a marketing strategy for the next year. Let's create a retention strategy. How do I mentor my team? How can I implement new systems? What new systems do we need? Creating all of your back office so that it could run without you. Like, these are things only you can do. You can't delegate that stuff, really, not terribly easily. And so what's happening at the moment is all of your time is being taken up because you are wearing all the hats and you're doing all of those tasks. When we can get to the stage that we take some of those tasks off your plate, so you're not spinning all the plates all the time, Somebody else does those. You've created a beautiful training, a wonderful process. You measure their results. Like, you do it so that you can let go of that task comfortably and not be stressing like most control freak dance principals do. And I say that with utter love, because I also am one of those. But you create it so that you're not busy doing still half that task. You know, the worst thing when people try to delegate is they turn around and say, I tried that and it didn't work, because I just took me more time trying to teach them how to do it than I could just do it myself. So when we learn how to delegate and how to create a process in our business so that we can pass it on to somebody else, now all of a sudden, all those things that are taking up your time during your day, the low level tasks, have gone, which means that your time is now spent on the £100 tasks and the £1,000 tasks. And the thing is, and this is the big key to this, the £10 tasks don't earn you more money. They just manage what you've got. The £100 and £1,000 tasks is where you need to sit if you want to create more of, or scale, or manage better. And so when we can get you sitting in those top tiers and not the bottom tier, you will then either have time to create new wealth within the business, grow the school, or manage the school in a different way, or, and this is the golden part, the freedom to choose how you want to spend your time in your day. And that's where you get to have 2 hours off each day that you don't currently have. Because to me, you know, building a really successful dance school isn't just about the money.
No.
I mean, it's predominantly about the students and the people that we bring dance to, which is our purpose, which lights us up, that makes us feel amazing. It then needs to earn money so we can survive and have a lifestyle that we would love to have.
Yeah.
But I think the money, yes, it helps to create a lifestyle that you might like, but ultimately it's also there to help give you the freedom to choose how you show up in your business. Do I want to work 6 days a week? Do I actually only want to work 5 days a week? Do I want to do all this admin, or do I actually only want to do the top level admin? And it's having the ability to choose that is the biggie for me. So if you say to me, do you know what, Deborah, I'd love an extra 10 hours a week, Monday to Friday, where I've got 2 hours a day to do whatever I like, then we just have to put the strategies in place to create that so that happens.
And I'll be doing that.
Hallelujah. My job is done. I told you I have a magic one. No, a lot of the time, I think we get so caught up in just being the admin in our school. Like, the whole time you're just the administrator, you're just a paid role in your own school.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's, yes, we could save the money and do that. But in saving the money and doing those jobs ourselves, that's stopping us from working on the bigger stuff that has the bigger impact. So that's kind of anyone that's listening that's kind of having a little bit of a light bulb moment just now. The first thing is realizing and having an awareness that there are roles, tasks in your business that you should no longer be doing. The second thing is having the ability to let go in order to grow, to let go of some of those tasks and delegate and get rid of the control freak in us, so that frees us up so that we can then grow. And that's quite a big thing for a lot of people. When you can get your head around that, then I feel like you can create anything.
Winning.
So yeah, start by making a list of all the tasks that you do that you think, this doesn't need to be me. Anyone could do this thing. Do a lot of your dancers do competitions?
We've just started. We've literally just started. So we've gone into. We always did ballroom and Latin, and we've recently gone into stage competitions, whatever you want to call them, show competitions. So yeah, we're doing it all now.
So when did you start to bring this aspect of the business in?
When was our first one? May this year.
May this year. So from May this year, you've just added even more to your plate in terms of the admin that's generated from doing those competitions.
Yeah.
So when you come, so this is my little top tip here. When you come to doing those competition entries, at the same time as doing that job, as a little side task, I'd love you to think to yourself, if I wanted somebody else to do this, how could I teach them to do it so that they could do it brilliantly, faultlessly, not make any mistakes? And here's the biggie, not have to come and ask me any questions. What would I have to teach them? And it might be that you create a document. It might be that there's a checklist. It might be there's a video. Like, it could be a whole bunch of different things. And like audio, I always say, try and chunk it into little bite-sized pieces. Nobody wants to sit and listen for an hour on how to do competition entries, but they might watch 5 little short videos showing them the different stages of doing that. Getting the money from the parents, telling the email that goes out to tell the parents, getting the money in, checking that the money is all in, filling out the forms, checking the date, like all the different little moving parts just associated with that one task. And then create a process where you can kind of go to somebody, not necessarily now, not necessarily this year, maybe not for a couple of years, but eventually where you can go, do you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. Like, it's taking up my time. I want to spend more time doing creative things, or I want to spend more time watching a box set. And therefore, here's the job description that I created for that task. Give it to this person. Now it's done by someone else. Simple as that. And so I say, create that whole process as you're doing the task. Because as you do each bit, you go, oh, do you know what? That email, I could copy and paste that, stick that in a folder, and then that's there for next time we need to use it. And where to get the form, where to download the form, and how to fill it in, I could just shoot a quick video and add this information together and put that in that folder too. And before you know it, you've created a whole process that you can eventually delegate.
100%.
So we're going to get rid of that competition entry ad for you ASAP. So this has been wonderful talking about, all those time restrictions and the life balance. Is there anything else, Chris, that you find running your dance studio? You'd love it to be smoother, slicker, quicker, easier. Anything you can think of?
God, many things. I mean, I think the children are absolutely fantastic. So every class is such an experience, a good experience for both teacher and pupil. I would love advice on what anyone else does with phones, because they are the devil's work, phones and social media in class. We tend not to collect anything in, because that's just opening lots of problems, but get them switched off, don't go on them, don't touch them, don't text each other. So social media, if anyone's got any advice on social media around the kids and their phone use, then, great. And then, the other things that we get, which I'm sure many people do get, I think as the school's gotten older, as they've been in business a longer amount of time, it doesn't bother me as much now. But when we first started, or 5 years ago, 7 years ago, there was always a competition, a competitive nature amongst other schools, and I don't really have much time for that. I think that everyone should get on with everybody, and people should go where they want to go, and the teacher should be happy for them. I know there'll be people that disagree with me on this podcast, and that's absolutely fine. But I'm a big believer that one teacher cannot teach everything. I don't believe that a student should be the property of a school. And my opinion has become, has been fought against locally.
I
believe it should be all encompassing.
Yeah. And I tell you what's really interesting around this topic in particular, at the very heart of what you're saying is the approach in which a principal has value on their students. Because when you really want the very best for your students, if we're able to put our egoic self to one side, that isn't always us. And it's very hard to admit, maybe somebody else could teach that person something better than me. Now, when we come from a ourselves first point of view, that's where a lot of things happen in dance schools, maybe in the competition circuit, whereby integrity is questioned. And I think it's often because we are thinking of ourselves first, our income, our business, what we want, us trying to keep hold of people, kind of control things, rather than kind of thinking, actually, underneath all this is a human, is a little person, is somebody that if I really have integrity at heart, it's what's right for that person, not what's right for me.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody like yourself, and it's so lovely to hear this, that puts their students first, then the integrity and the reputation and the social credibility that you build up is insane. And when that becomes really strong and really powerful, people are then automatically attracted to you for that very reason. So you may lose the odd student because they go somewhere else, or you give them advice to somebody else.
Yeah.
But long term, you actually end up coming out on top.
Yeah.
And so it would be lovely, wouldn't it, if a few more people thought like you?
Yeah. I've always said, from whenever I've been questioned on my approach to my view, I've always said to my staff and other people in conversation, the more that you tighten the grip, the more students will slip through your fingers. Because I just don't believe that people wish to be told where to go, what to do. I think that time in humanity has passed.
Yes, absolutely. And I made mistakes. I remember, I look back to 25-year-old me starting my school, and I wanted to literally kind of hang on to every student, because every student, when you're building a school and you've got 31 and then you've got 32, I remember counting each one individual, oh gosh, now we've got 45. It's hard in those early days, isn't it? When you build a school, you want to hang on to every single one. Yeah. So some of my decisions and some of the policies the terms and conditions I put in place, I look back at 25-year-old me and I just kind of have a little giggle and just think, well, you had no idea, Deborah, like why that person left, well, it was because you were trying to control everything so hard. And I think it's easy to look back at a younger version of yourself and do that. But when there's people that, how do I say this in a nice-ish way, should know better, they're no longer 20-year-olds just starting out in the industry.
No.
It's a shame, I think. But all I think you can do is lead by a wonderful example.
Yeah.
And
that's what we try to do. I sort of at the penultimate end of the last show, when the 10th thing had finished and we were heading into 11, which we're now in, I kind of just said to everybody, socially or on the stage, I said, we're who we are. We're not really interested in any sort of melodrama that surrounds the students or who they go to or where you go in. We want the best for them. We just want them to enjoy it, and anybody is welcome here, and there won't be we won't be responding to any what's the word?
Negative energy.
Yeah. Negative energy. Yeah.
No, I think that's wise. So what is on the cards for your school? Where would you love it to be in the next sort of 2 to 3 years?
2 to 3. We've just moved to a large studio now. As I speak to you, my floor has popped, so it's like this now with this. So I'm having to get people to come out and look at the floor. So 2 to 3 years, I'd like a good floor.
Right. Hopefully we'll sort that out before 3 years.
Yeah. But I would absolutely love a secondary premises. That would be a goal for me. We had 2 as we were moving into the larger one, and then since we've moved into the larger one, again, we could do it again. We could open another school and have different classes as well. So I think the next stage would be to look at somewhere like that, or I find it difficult in our local area to rent, because there's only so many places you can rent, and there's other groups and stuff like that. So that's why we did get our own studio. But then again, the cost of living is something else, and the prices around about coastal resorts like Whitby is astronomical for buying a property. So I would like to, but it will remain the visionary end goal. But
Yes.
I'm not sure. I think we'll be able to get it.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it's again going back to kind of having a plan, isn't it? And so if you kind of look at the future, owning on and having our own building where our business is managed, what's that like to look like? What are the costs? There is a cost. This is a huge cost, but what is that? And if we had those costs, how many students do we need in order to be able to pay the bills? And if we need that many students, and we're currently at this stage, then the next stage is, how do we grow the students so we get closer to that goal? And eventually you'll hit that goal and you'll be like, you know what? We've got enough students and enough income now to actually afford that astronomical mortgage that we thought we'd never going to be able to afford. So I'm a really big believer in taking the dream and then just dissect, like keep going backwards. Deconstruct, I think is the word I was looking for. Keep deconstructing that all the way back, like back, right back to where you are today. What do I need to do tomorrow that is the next best step that helps me towards that big goal that's out there in the future? And who knows, it might be delegating some of those £10 tasks.
Indeed, yeah. I like that. I'm taking that forward with me. I love that. But it's funny you should say that, because when we got the studio we're in now, we moved into that one in March this year. I remember sitting with the little spreadsheet and how many people paid, how many students that would cover, and it's that sort of the thing that I never actually assumed I would ever do. Because we're dance teachers and drama teachers. But yeah, I remember going through the spreadsheet thinking, that's how many I need for that. That's how much I need to come in for that. And I know what you're saying is that the next stage is all about the deconstruction of that and doing that again to see how we can build further.
Because when you started with your 10 years ago, you never dreamed you'd have to have your own studios. Like, that was just like a crazy, ridiculous dream, right? Yeah. But now your crazy, ridiculous dream of being able to own your own building, your own premises, and let's face it, there's a pension sitting there right there in the future if you have actually own your own premises. It's no crazier a dream than where you were when you started and where you've got to. So it's just having the vision, then the strategy, then the tasks that need to take place for the strategy to work. And then on a daily basis, what are we doing to work towards that? And I have no doubt, Chris, that you will get there. You definitely sound like a man on a mission.
Thank you.
And it's been such a pleasure hearing about your wonderful school. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing some of those things with me. And hopefully we'll see some more gentlemen on my podcast and, maybe at my conference, at retreats. Like, I would love to have, a better representation of all of the dance industry and a lot of, I would say the bulk of my clients and members run quite traditional theatre schools. So it's really lovely to hear about a ballroom and Latin school as well. So you've brought a double whammy to the call today. Thank you so much, Chris. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure, Deborah. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to tell you that this episode is kindly sponsored by Sally at Dance Studio Marketing, who is your go-to solution for growing your dance school through the power of social media. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at trying to attract new students, at Dance Studio Marketing, Sally helps dance studio owners just like you to leverage the power of social media and paid ads to bring in a steady stream of students, which of course helps you to achieve more balance in your life. So if you're ready to grow with less stress, visit sallyprendergast.com, or you can connect with Sally at Dance Studio Marketing on your favorite social media platform today. My clients are getting fabulous results using Sally. So let's get those ads going and let's get your school growing.